And we are live. Thanks, everybody, for joining us tonight for the Signal 50 podcast. This is what, our 21st episode?
21st episode.
21 episodes of three
remember
idiots
my
sitting around and talking.
Does anybody else remember the 21st?
No.
I'm surprised you did remember your 21st there, Delta.
Well, I say that now, many years
The next
later.
day was... Yeah, the next day was a little harsh. But anyhow, on to it. There's a lot to talk to tonight. And while we relive our 21st birthday fondest memories, there's a lot of stuff going on. And I, for one, I'm disappointed, disheartened. I'm a little pissed. Actually, I'm a lot pissed. I'm disappointed in how we're acting as Americans and what happened in the election still. There seems to be no end in sight. And, you guys, we sit there and we talk about it. Supreme Court turned down the Texas suit the other day, which is pretty astounding to me.
It was ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous.
It seems ridiculous because I suppose that's what the Supreme Court's purpose is. Disputes between states. Yeah.
Well, they said that Texas had no standing. And hello, everyone, and thanks for joining us again. I'm Bravo Golf 5902, joined with Delta Echo 515. He's back from assignment. We are the average Americans, but we are patriots. And we're here to talk to you about the current events and give you the hard truth here at the Signal 50 podcast. As Alpha told us, we are doing this the 21st time since we started this. He and I started this podcast back in September.
Yeah,
and
time
we wanted to exercise that First Amendment rights, and now it looks like we need to continue exercising those First Amendment rights because our elected officials in this republic are not doing what they're supposed to be doing. But we do appreciate what you're doing, and we cannot show our faces since we would be canceled. And there's more garbage going on at least my workplace that drives me crazy. But we can't show our faces, but we hope to someday.
Right. Sorry about that, guys. I got a little ahead of ourselves here. Didn't even introduce ourselves because there's just so much going on, and it's a little much, right?
Yeah, I'm right there with you.
I think there's emotions on all the sides, right, Alpha? So there's a lot going on. Not every 75 million, 80 million people plus all the ones that didn't vote or the silent Trump voters are really concerned now. And we just want to jump in and get and start talking to it. So it's totally understandable. But there's a lot of emotions on both sides, right? You've got a presumptive president-elect who is trying to run a narrative. There's some information that came out about that, which I'm sure we'll talk about later. So there's so much going on both sides, and nobody knows how to make heads or tails of either one of it.
There's a lot of layers to what's going on right now, and there's stuff going on all over the place that I'm sure we're going to get into. We've got about an hour to talk about it, and an hour, to be honest, doesn't really do it justice, right? So, we're going to talk about the election being purposefully blocked at every turn, from both sides, Republicans and Democrats. I think it's all getting pretty disgusting, right? So we're going to talk about that, and the Texas thing really plays into there as well. We're going to talk about the real story behind the COVID bullshit and the election. Pardon my French. Not that we're monetized on YouTube, because you can't even find us on YouTube anymore. They don't like us.
But we are on Rumble. And Rumble, thank you everyone on Rumble.
Yeah, absolutely.
We get about 10 to 20 new subscribers every day on Rumble. We thank you very much. Again, we're like you. We're average Americans. We're patriots. We're trying to get the word out. We're on Parler also. Our handles are right there. We are there looking just to connect with everyone, and we appreciate everyone's support. It is amazing. So thank you.
Absolutely. What are we up to? About 360 subscribers now on Rumble?
360, and it keeps growing. And we actually could probably thank you to ScrewTube, as Dan Bongino calls them, ScrewTube, for putting down the hammer. I mean, you want to start this right off the bad, Alpha, and get us demonetized? The election was fraud. Okay. We're done on YouTube.
Yeah, we're done on YouTube if they care to listen to what we have to say. But yeah, so we're gonna have a pretty broad sweeping discussion on stupidity in the opinion section, led pretty much by Delta, who I know
I have completely had it.
Yeah,
I am over the edge, jumping out a second story window. Had it with some of the dumbness.
Yeah, I got shouted at by a woman out while I was walking the other day. I wasn't wearing a mask walking the dog, and she started shouting at me as she's walking down the trail.
Wear a mask. Wear a mask.
Oh
wear
no!
a
And
mask.
she was quite aggressive, and she got right up in my space. And yeah, the stupidity is thick.
Mhm.
We'll get into that later. It's just craziness. Anyhow, let's start it out. Look, thanks everybody for listening to us. Let's give you the bottom line up front. Let's get right into it. The first segment. Again, thanks for listening. Thanks for taking your time and trusting us with your time for an hour every week. And what we're going to try to do, there's so much stuff going on. We're really going to try to do 2 shows a week. I got some feedback and some engagement from some folks. They'd like to hear 2 shows a week. So
Wow.
we'll do a midweek show. Things have been a little hectic with everybody. Everybody's trying to wrap up their year. I know that Delta's got a lot of stuff going on right now to round out 2020. Oh God, if we could just nuke 2020, that would be perfect.
2020 sucks. I'm just gonna throw it out there for everybody. You saw my dumpster fire 2020 a couple shows ago.
Oh my God. So bad.
You should bring it back.
I might be able to. Able to do something here.
It is like getting kicked in the balls over and over and over again. It's terrible.
You almost get numb to it after a while, though. You get numb to it because it's and I'm not confident 2021 is gonna be any better. I really don't.
Well, at least it could be interesting.
Interesting is another word for it.
Right.
Well, you
but
have
anyway,
to define, you have to define better, right? Because when you're literally licking the bottom of whatever 55-gallon drum you're swimming in, anything's probably better, right?
Brother, you can't fall off the floor.
Right?
You can't. It doesn't get any worse.
It reminds me of like Deadpool 2 when he says he hits rock bottom and his head hits a rock and explodes. And I'm like, that's the literal term of hitting rock bottom.
That's a great movie, by the way. Great movie. Loved it.
Both of them.
Too. Both of them are great.
Both of them. Deadpool's my spirit animal. Anyhow, so let's kick it off with our first segment about the election being purposely blocked at every turn on both sides. Everybody's seen what's going on. You've got a lot of independent actors out there. You got Rudy Giuliani working with the president and Jenna Ellis, and you've got one of my favorite human beings. Oh my God, name is escaping me all of a sudden. She's my favorite human being. I can't even remember her damn name.
Sidney Powell?
Sidney Powell. I'm sorry. Jeez. It's been a long week. So, you
Linwood.
got these guys.
Got Linwood too.
Well, Linwood. I don't know what's going on with Linwood, but that's okay. Yeah. But let's talk a little bit about it. So, Bravo, you got some stuff you want to talk about. So
So I wanted to bring this up because I hearing the news. I think it was like a gut punch after the Supreme Court opted not to take the case in a page-long explanation, double spaced, by the way. So for those of you who remember going to school and having to do your papers, and you would double space your papers so you would maybe, make them longer. They said in a double space written that Texas had no standing. And I thought about it and I said, and we were talking about this on the show last week. And what was the thing I found was amazing was I thought it was brilliantly written. I didn't realize that the Supreme Court had the chutzpah to just chop out the knees from Texas and their ideas of being in two phases of this. One being that the neglect and the purposeful not being able to follow the rules on Pennsylvania, Georgia, Michigan, Wisconsin's part that it disenfranchised their voters. I thought it was a brilliant commentary and lawsuit. I'm not a lawyer. I don't play one on TV, but you read some stuff and you can kind of put 2 and 2 together. So the Supreme Court came out and said, "Nope, gone. then you listen to the representatives on the state level. You listen to the ineptness of the governor of Georgia, this Secretary of State Rathenberger, or Nothingberger, I like to call him. He basically, they're saying nothing's wrong. They certified the election. All throughout this entire process, boys, it is frightening that you can cheat, you can steal, and you can get away with it. And what we're seeing right now is no one wants to step up and say, stop it, and do their job. What do I mean by doing their job? Take the case, make a stand, do what's right. All these people, there's these new stories coming out about connections with China, about the idea that the CCP is controlling the governor of Georgia, and all of these these people took payoffs. It's sickening, and President Trump's doing everything he can, but the literal clock is winding down here.
Well, it's interesting. Hold on 1 second, Bravo. It's really interesting that you mentioned that, and I think what we're going to do is we're going to get into that in a little while. There is a little poison pill out there that not a whole lot of people are paying attention to, right? And that's called the executive order from 2018 in foreign election interference. We'll talk about that a little bit.
There it is.
Oh, there you go.
The Epic Times, the official go-to newspaper for the Signal 50 podcast.
Hold on 1 second. Hold on 1 second. I think everybody needs to make this their official news outlet.
Okay. No, I was just saying we go to this. This is our official news source. We're also I also read the Populist Press, populist.press. It's a news aggregator, and it just pulls up news. It has nothing to do with Drudge. I like the Bongino Report. These are all different places I go to look for news. We'll get into this much later. Delta loves Fox News still, or watches it. I can't stand them anymore. But anyway.
I do.
I know. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But here we go.
So can I just I just want to square the corner here real quick before we get into the executive order and the what can be. There's two ways to look at what the Supreme Court did. Before we get into it, I'm gonna offer you fellas who I highly respect a different way of looking at this. Okay, I'm not happy with the Supreme Court decision. Let me just put that out there up front. Okay, but if you look at it and you listen to what was said, there's two things that come to mind. One, all elections are local. Okay, every election happens at the local level. Even federal elections. So every state decides how they're going to do it, right, wrong, or otherwise. And again, I don't agree with the way things happened. I'm certainly upset about how things happened, but that doesn't mean that I can't look at this objectively and say, if Pennsylvania's legislature or Pennsylvania's Congress allowed the Secretary of State or the governor to change the rules a week before, and they let them get away with it, that's within the state, okay? So that's one piece of it. And that's one reason why the Supreme Court didn't take up the case. The second reason that I believe, and this is 100% speculation, so you can quote me on it, don't quote me on it, I don't really care. But the second reason that the Supreme Court didn't take up the case is because it's 100% political. This is not a case that has anything to do with abortion rights or any of the gun rights or anything like that. Again, it is a constitutional issue, and I agree with Ken Paxton on that. I agree with the case that was brought forth, and I really think they should have heard it. But I do believe that there's probably enough justices currently on the court that would overturn the election. And then what? And I think that's the reason why they chose not to take it. It's a political decision because the court has been looked at. I mean, Trump has just eviscerated John Roberts for 3 years, or 4 years. He's completely eviscerated this guy. And so is Dan Bongino and some other people who are looking at the shady decisions that John Roberts has made. So if they did choose to take this up, there's no way they could get out of not overturning the election constitutionally.
How about just kick it to the House of Representatives? Say this election, there's too many holes in it. Continue on the local level for all the other, the Senate and the rerun your elections there. And for this race, we'll throw it to the House of Representatives. They could have made that decision too. I mean, I'm not a lawyer, I'm not a justice, but
but again,
they could have done that.
But you can't win. So as much as we like to say that the Supreme Court is apolitical, it's not.
Well,
right now, all the mud is on the presidency, and to some extent, the Congress, the House of Representatives, not the Senate. So, do you really want to draw that attention to yourself and say, "Here, okay, well, it might be the right thing to do, but if we do it, and either the election gets overturned, I piss off half the country." The election doesn't get overturned, I piss off the other half of the country. Those are my 2 cents, and that's the lens that I'm looking at this.
Before we get into before we get into the 2018 executive order, I just wanted to add one thing. So they're hedging their bets, in my opinion. They're betting on the fact that the Patriots and the Republicans, I don't really count them as anything, but they're not going to get out of hand. If they overturn the election and into Trump's corner, the court must have perceived or something that it was worse if they did it and the Democrats lost, because they would go out and burn down the country. Although I'm not sure that would really happen, but I'm trying to put some rationale to it, because as human beings, we all have the agonizing question of why things happen, and we try to explain it based on our experiences and our knowledge. Otherwise, I have no idea. But they just didn't want to touch it with a 10-foot pole, and they're not doing their jobs. But also, who's not doing their jobs is the local level courts and the state courts and the state Supreme Courts and the state legislatures. And anyway, so options are winding down. And the thing that really burns me, as I said earlier on at the top of this discussion, why on God's green earth are we giving it to someone that stole it from us in plain sight, and there's nothing we can do about it? Damn it. And that pisses me off. And it's wrong. And it's not something I teach my children. I know you gentlemen don't do that. It sucks. And it's not right.
Well, wait a minute now. All right. Now I've sat back and listened to the both of you, and I'm in violent agreement with the both of you. Let me add one little twist to you. How long has this shit been going on?
Well, again, it's been going on since President Trump came down the escalator and decided he wanted to run.
No. Back it up a little further.
Oh, you mean election crap? Oh, it's been going on for 40 years.
Exactly. At least.
I mean, it's
let's we pride ourselves in being a constitutional republic, a representational republic, where we democratically, using a democratic process, we're not a democracy.
Or a republic,
a representative republic. We elect our representatives in a free and fair election, which is what separates us from the banana republics.
Although probably they're alpha, we're not doing it anymore. This is crazy.
Well, we haven't done it for 40 years.
Right.
So wait a minute. You've got a bunch of people in Washington, D.C., the power brokers in Washington, D.C. You get an outsider like Donald Trump that comes in and shocks the world, comes down an escalator and says, you know what, I'm going to run for president and I'm going to beat all you guys because you suck. And the polling numbers for Hillary were just huge. And they were like, oh, I don't think we have to cheat too hard to beat this clown, blah, blah, blah. And lo and behold, whammo, he wins. And they're like, shit, we can't let that happen again. So next time we're going to have to cheat really hard. Cheat early, cheat soon, cheat hard. Get the machine going, and you've got a guy like Obama who's been pulling the strings behind the scenes for the last 4 years going, holy shit, we got to get rid of this guy or we're all going to hang. And guess what? They outmaneuvered us. And I think the fix was in from the start. I think that we live in a banana republic, and I don't think that the rule of law really applies too much anymore. And I've got serious problems with that. I've prided myself. I swore an oath. You swore an oath. Delta swore an oath or two to protect this country from all enemies, foreign and domestic. We've got all of it. We've got foreign. We've got domestic.
Might as well just get the shredder out.
Just get the shredder out.
And
just get rid of the Constitution and let's just start again.
Well, let's not get rid of the Constitution. That's the one. That's the one pure thing that we still have.
Yeah, I got news for you. I agree, but it doesn't hold. It's not seemingly holding a whole lot of water with these power brokers in Washington D.C. with the D.C. elite that just want to control us.
I agree. I agree. I agree with you, Alpha. And I would be lying to the audience and to you folks, you gentlemen, if I told you that my faith in some of the institutions in this country are a bit shaken, and that scares me to death. It really does, because at the end of the day, I like to believe that we live in the greatest country on earth, and that our elections do mean something, and that the people who go to Washington do represent the best interests of the people who are in the field. I want to believe that. I really do.
So let me try and salvage the despair here and say maybe President Trump had the 4D chess going, not 3D but 4D, when he came up with an executive order in 2018 regarding election interference, which may kick in and save us all, hopefully. And basically what it says is, and we're taking this from the Epic Times, again, the official go-to source for the Signal 50 podcast. So in 2018, Trump signed an executive order that, quote, not later than 45 days after the conclusion of the United States election, the Director of National Intelligence, in consultation with the heads of any other appropriate executive department and agency or agencies, shall conduct an assessment of any information indicating that a foreign government or any person acting as an agent on or on behalf of a foreign government has acted with the intent or purpose of interfering in that election. Gentlemen, I think this is the trump card. Well, if there.
What to what end? I mean, yes, I hear you, and I agree with it, and I think it's very interesting, and I think that a lot of people aren't paying attention to it, and they should be. I want to know what it means. I'm not a lawyer. I've stayed in my share of Holiday Inn Expresses in my life, but yet have I stayed in one where it gave me the foresight of a constitutional lawyer or somebody who's well versed in this. I'm just a regular dude. I'm just a regular dude that hopes that this has some teeth to it and they can do something with it.
So not that I'm a lawyer, but if Sidney Powell's saying Trump could trigger a 2018 executive order, I'm going to wait and see. I think I have to say this is the last ace in the hole. Because if anything else, it's going to be President-elect Biden, and we're all going to be like wondering what the hell just happened in the midst of all this evidence. And you're seeing on the state level all these the evidence coming out and people trying to defend it. There was two representatives, one in Michigan and one was in Georgia, I believe, where these representatives were berating the witnesses, and one's giving secret videos, messaging to BLM and Antifa to rise up and you know what to do. And it's disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting. They stripped, this is a Michigan representative, by the way, stripped her of all of her assignments, and they're investigating her. They should censor her and throw her ass out of the Michigan House representative.
Anybody that calls for any kind of violence against a political enemy, and you're in a position of power, you should be imprisoned.
Yep.
That's not what this country is all about. But, maybe it is because, they've turned it into a third world banana republic with this shit. And that's enough. Okay, it's enough. And that woman, I'm going to correct you a little bit here, Bravo.
Mhm.
There was nothing secret about what she did.
Oh no, I meant she. It sounded. I'm sorry, secret. It was like these dog whistles going out, saying, "You know what to do. Go out and do it." And when I mean secret, it was out on public media, and she was blowing the dog whistle for those that knew what she was saying to go out and do something. I'll clarify.
Well, if these people, want to bring about the next revolution or civil war or whatever the hell you want to whatever you want to call it, they're picking the wrong people. We've discussed this. We've gone over it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
they're picking the wrong people to screw with.
I did have
we don't want to see that.
I had a conversation yesterday with a liberal, because I do think they're human, even if they don't listen to our show. And so this gentleman said to me the last time they saw real unity in the country was like JFK, maybe. I guess. Maybe
Challenger?
Reagan. Maybe Reagan. No, not the Challenger. Not necessarily. Not for a moment, right? Because you can pick out unity moments, right? 9/11 was a unity moment. Challenger explosion was a unity moment. The death of Osama bin Laden was a unity moment, right? But true unity within the country. And I got to be honest with you guys. I sort of welcome a bit of a civil war. I'm going to throw it out there. I think that
so far so fast.
We have diametrically opposed points of view. Okay? We have folks that are all in on social programs and spending other people's money to take care of people who can either A, take care of themselves or choose not to, right? And then we have other people that say small government and do what we have to do to take care of the country, cops, firemen, and so forth. So, and that's me being very basic, right? Of course, it goes deeper than that. But we're in a place now where AOC has a spotlight, right? And the crap that comes out, the absolute vomit that comes out of her mouth, this should be in Section C, by the way, Bravo. Me talking about AOC, you can lump her in with all the other garbage I'm going to talk about at the
That's
end.
fine.
Table it.
But
Table
just
it.
the absolute. I'm just the point that I'm getting to though is that this election showed a clear divide, even more so than we've seen in 2016 or in times before. The country is divided, and somebody's going to have to win.
So, just on that avenue there, with Delta, here's something I wanted to show everyone. We bring the receipts here at the Signal 50 podcast. So, Lieutenant Colonel West, after the Supreme Court decided not to take on the case and not support the Constitution, he comes out and says that law-abiding citizens need to form a new union. So I've seen a couple maps where they're talking about the blue states form their own, socialist country, and the United States that want to be on the Constitution side, all the red states would stay, would succeed. There might be your civil war. I don't know if it's gonna be a shooting war necessarily, but it may be a idealistic war.
Well, let me just interject here for just a quick second. As far as the blue states go and the red states, I don't know a goddamn thing any one of these blue states has that I would be willing to shoot anybody over. Okay, the red states, they have the beaches, they have the oil, they've got all the good stuff. You know what? Maybe it's time for the national divorce.
Mm-hmm.
Just let it happen. I mean, this is insanity. And it's such a small percentage of the population or a small bit of the landmass versus people that think like us, right? And but then again, everything is so skewed that we don't know what to believe. And I firmly believe that if it is found that this election was as deeply tampered with as I suspect it probably was, I think you're going to have serious problem on your hands. Because if that's the fact, and you have a political party that tampered with something that is so sacred as the vote, then there is no law in this country anymore. Then the federal government doesn't mean jack shit. They've shredded every law that we hold true to. They have shredded every principle of a free republic. This is not a free republic if they have gone ahead and, in fact, tampered with an election and rigged it against the will of the people. So you know what? If there is a civil war, Delta, maybe it's time.
Yeah.
I hate to say it. And this is a real reason to do it.
Yeah. You have the Patriot, or what are you going to call each side? The Socialists and the Patriots, I guess. But anyway, this was brought up, and I respect Colonel Allen West tremendously. He was in a bad motorcycle accident back in Memorial Day, and he's back. But this was I saw this interview on Newsmax.
It's interesting. It's an interesting concept. I think it's clickbait, to be honest with you, because when you look at it economically, half of our country, or you take out California, New York, Minnesota, I'm like true blue states, half of New England, right? When you take all those states out of the equation on GDP. And then what do I? And then think of it this way, right? So Oklahoma, right, has to set up a trade agreement with New Mexico. How does that work?
Yeah. No, it would get messy very quickly.
So while I agree with Colonel West and maybe a new union needs to be formed, there's no way half of this country will be as powerful as it is right now.
No, I get there's a lot of pros and cons that go with it, and I'm not sure it's the way to go. I think that truth, justice, and quote the American way should be what prevails in all of this. However, right now who are we? We're the average Americans who are patriots who want our Constitution to prevail, and no one's willing to stand up for it. That's the way I see it right now.
Well, wait a minute.
Yeah, but that doesn't come from splitting the country in half. That comes from getting rid of the Republicrats all over the country. It doesn't matter Republican, Democrat; they're all garbage.
Yeah, what I'm saying is, I don't think, and I agree with you. I don't think if there was a split or secession of these states, what would end up happening is you would have some states would do better and have more infrastructure than the others, and it'd just be a mess. It would just be a big mess, and it'd be the United States.
Guys, there's a little expression that we like to use in particular that we're seemingly forgetting. Okay, we don't really want a civil war. Nobody really wants it. Maybe it's time. Blah blah. Whatever. I don't know. Whatever. Let's just stay away from that. Those that forget their history are doomed to repeat.
Well, I agree with that 100%.
And here's the thing: how did we get a civil war? The South said, "You know what? Screw yourselves. You're stamping on me. You're crushing my way of life. Yeah, we've got slaves. That was a very bad thing, but that was a very small reason for the Civil War. The larger reason was they wanted to secede from the Union. Okay, and they wanted to form their own economy and do their own thing because they didn't like the way the North was running things.
Correct.
And we're forgetting that, and we're heading down the same damn road. And you've got people coming into office that would be just as happy to say, I'll oblige you. Let's go to civil war against you. We'll crush you. So we need to be very careful.
It's true.
So let's just let's pump the brakes a little bit, right? But there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be very unhappy no matter what happens in the coming weeks. And I think things are going to get really interesting, and not interesting in a good way. And we need to be, a little bit cautious about how we interpret things moving forward. So, look, we're at 34 minutes, and it's just, we could talk about that for hours, and we would. It's an hours long conversation, but in the interest of time,
it's worth it. It's worth it, Alpha. It's
absolutely
worth the conversation.
Oh, totally is. And we'll do another show, and we'll spend some more time on that, but we need to move this one along a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about the real story behind COVID. All right. And how it relates to the election.
Let's bring this one up, because
I think that's important. I think that's important too.
That was another thing I was racking my brain around this past week, because things seem to be spiraling out of control when I keep saying, where states are shutting down, they're not allowing restaurants to have in-person dining and this and it. And I looked around and I said, why are these big box stores still going and the small mom and pop shops are closing? And wait a minute, why is this being shut down and that? And but isn't there a vaccine coming out next week, gentlemen? Right? I mean, there's a vaccine coming out. So why is all the doom and gloom here? And it struck me where I said to myself, bravo, you have to go and find some information. So this is what I did. I started hunting around for some other information elsewhere. I remember Alpha talking about the X22 report, which I did find on Rumble. And today they had an interview with a very interesting person by the name of Dr. Shiva. The last name I can't pronounce, and I won't try. And Dr. Shiva talks about, and this is a gentleman that was, when he was 14 years old, has started working on his undergraduate and came out with 4 master's degrees and a PhD. So he's pretty smart, I would say.
Yeah, he's quite the underachiever.
Yeah, pretty much. And he comes up with this idea of, he's worked on computer algorithms since he was 14. He actually invented an email. He did this, and it's not like what's his nuts there, Gore, who talked about inventing the internet. No. This guy invented email to get rid of paper and secretaries' inboxes, and that's where it all comes from. He also is an immunologist. He actually studies viruses and understands how they work. He's a bioengineer. The guy's brilliant. I mean, it's just amazing. I was listening to this interview, and I think Alpha, you heard it also. Just separately, we just like, oh, you heard it too. I was blown away. This was a way to try and control a narrative, and he called Fauci a fraud, which was kind of funny, and that they're using this old time model of immunology, immunizations, and there's a way to turn on our immune systems to allow this, and we need to have the exposure to COVID, or the Wuhan virus, as I like to call it, where you actually develop immunity and let your body take care of it. And again, the death rate, he mentioned this, the death rate's like 0.05%. So again, a lot of really great information. I encourage everyone to go to Rumble, find the X22 report, listen to his interview. He also mentioned that he ran for Senate in Massachusetts. He went door to door, kind of followed the same model that President Trump did. Millions of people were supporting him, and he comes to find out that he was primaried out by this person that was a no-name, and it seemed he brings out the fact that this whole system is rigged, and that it wasn't his, they wanted to keep Warren in place, so they put up a rhino to run against him in the primary, and they primaried him out of the way. And he found out, he did his analysis of the voting system and noticed that it wasn't a natural curve, it was a straight line, and he determined that every other county was 60-40 in favor of the Rhino Republican, of course, who lost to Warren in the election for Senate.
Right. Well,
So,
wait a minute. Hold on. Let's pump the brakes here a little bit on Dr. Shiva. Okay.
mhm,
When this guy analyzed the data, he's not going to be
mhm.
like you, me, and Delta, where
Oh
we're
no.
going to knee jerk and say, "Oh my God, this is wrong." He's going to look at the data. I mean, this guy in '93,
He's brilliant.
he was playing with artificial intelligence in 1993 to automate business processes and to
Hmm.
automate data processing. In
Hmm.
1993, nobody could spell AI in 1993. To be funny. So this guy, if he's telling you something, I
Hmm.
would give it a whole lot of weight, right?
Hmm. And
Especially
it
about
answered a lot of
data.
questions. You know,
Absolutely.
that question I had, what the hell is going on here? Why isn't anything happening? And he really brings it all into light. Of great interview. He's got a course. He's got a 3-hour seminar he gives for free. I guess it's on a website here, where he talks about the grassroots movement of taking back your local level. And you talked about this earlier, Alpha. Local level. It happens at the local level, elections, and all he wants is that you promise to go ahead and bring these ideas back and start it on the local level. So God bless him. He's an immigrant from India, so I guess he can't run for president. But I'll tell you though, man's brilliant, and he knows what's going on.
The best kind, sometimes the best kind of patriots are the ones that come to this country and realize what they have in front of them and the opportunities, and they really embrace it. And this guy really embraced it. One thing that Shiva was discussing that really struck me was basically, you're right to back it up. And first of all, it was Delta that brought up that all the elections are local. But
Sorry, Delta.
okay, that's all right. We give credit where it's due there. He was exactly right.
Yeah.
But the bottom line, what he said was Fauci's a fraud. Fauci is a fraud, okay? And the reason he's just the spokesperson for the pharmaceutical companies is all he is. He's just the face. So this whole COVID thing, I happen to live in a place where we have a county executive that shall remain nameless, and a county board. And he put out, the county executive put out a new executive order saying we're going to eliminate this and we're going to lock you down here. We're not going to allow more than 150 people in a retail establishment, whether that be Walmart, Wegmans, Cub Foods, you name it, right? And I got news for you. People are pushing back. It's time. Enough.
So I don't know how many close encounters you guys have had. I've had 2 COVID-19 tests since this whole thing kicked off. The first one was back in March, where nobody knew anything about anything. So my boss and I came in contact with somebody who was wearing a mask, who tested positive the next day. We both went and got tested. Test came back negative. Went back to work. The second time was this past week. And I found out 5 days after I had had contact with a person. And to be fair, it wasn't like I was like hanging out, sitting on a couch with them, whatever. It happened to be in a meeting where there was 6 people in the room. It was a large enough conference room. Everybody had about 4 feet, distance. We weren't sitting on top of each other. We wear our masks in the building. We sit down to our meetings to take the masks off. The meeting lasts about 40 minutes. And I get a call on the 9th, which was Wednesday, that one of the people in that meeting had tested positive for COVID-19 that day. Now, that's okay, right? It happens. That's how we get to the numbers that we have. But I was curious. I came home and I spent 5 days with my family. And I went to work. not knowing any of this.
Hmm.
So what was I doing for 5 days?
You were a super
So-
spreader.
So, obviously on the 9th, Wednesday, I got a test. Thankfully, 2 days later, it came back. It was negative. Thank God for that. But what are we doing? What kind of world do we live in where this thing is so bad, quote, air quote, dreaded air quotes, right? Excuse me. This is so bad that you can let people just walk around for days.
Again, this is what we're talking about, lethality. We talked about the test and how it's actually tested for. And the Dr. Shiva goes into a lot of detail about why they need the numbers to be up so high. They need the ability to lock down and mold the population to the way they want it, and to make everyone miserable, and to take away their rights because they want, and then when I say they, I think the Democrats would come in on their white horses and say, we're all going to make it better. And then all of a sudden they'll lift off all these restrictions, and people are going to say, oh, the Democrats are awesome. We love them.
Yeah.
And
already,
then next thing you know, they're going to take advantage of you and raise your taxes and take your rights away and a bunch of other stuff.
The Democrat way is to create the problem and then go ahead and try to find the solution, right?
Right.
Instead of just finding a solution, the Democrats have to create a problem. And what they've done is they found a way to get what they wanted, right? At the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
Control. I mean, all these Democrats, they want to live under socialism. A lot of these people are,
sure.
They're really pushing for it. And these young people and the Antifas and all these idiots, they're pushing for socialism or Soviet style living. I got news for you. This is a great preview. You ever been to the grocery store and had a line out the door?
Shelves empty.
Shelves are empty. People are out the door. This is a great preview, folks.
Yes. We've done this. We did this back in March and April. Could you
We're
find
doing
a
it
roll of
again.
toilet paper anywhere? Could you find a roll of toilet paper?
No.
Okay, I make it
No,
a
it
rule.
was nowhere to be
I had to
found.
run on top of it.
Okay, first of all, you are never going to catch me short of toilet paper. All right, that's one of my rules. It's like
You're
ammo.
the
all
exception. You're the exception, not the rule. I was hunting toilet paper. I'm not gonna lie to you. My wife bought some toilet paper.
I'll sell you a roll.
My wife bought toilet paper on Amazon.
Oh my God.
It wasn't like Charmin or whatever. It was just toilet paper, and they were such small rolls that we used them as a gag gift during a party we threw after sometime in the summer. Because they were just like these tiny little something you would find in probably like in Asia or something like that. They were just really, really small rolls. But anyway, I get far afield. The point that I'm trying to make is, Alpha, we've been through this.
Yep.
I walked through a Walmart where there were shelves that were empty. And I remember commenting to my wife and being like, where am I? Where am I that Walmart is empty?
Mm-hmm. Well, just as a side note, Georgia there's a lot of truckers that are ready to surround and stop right outside Atlanta and to protest. I mean, this is going to get interesting, and that's where the reason we still had toilet paper after a while, and it all came. It was the thing started lightening up, and it was going against the Democrats' narrative where we have to save the day. But when the other states start opening up, and again, I hear it all the time from my liberal friends also, where they say, well, we got to lock down. It's my responsibility to keep everyone's. No, it's not. It's not. Wearing a mask actually does more harm. Dr. Shiva talked about this also, about the flora in your mouth, the bacteria that are normally there, increases the heat, and decreases the pH, and you get gum disease and you have cavities. It's not healthy. Wearing a mask is not healthy. Okay. In my line of work.
Listen.
What's that?
Let's pull the thread.
Pull
the thread a little bit for people out there that are listening that might not understand or don't understand. I mean, listen, the guy sitting there saying, listen, you're sacrificing one thing and another. First of all, cloth masks might stop maybe 3% of viruses. Okay. Mm-hmm. A surgical mask that's well fitted may stop 47%.
Correct.
And an N95 one-way valve mask for healthcare providers will be effective, but you can only wear them for a very short amount of time, or you will go into a state of hypoxia and give yourself a damn screaming migraine headache. So
That's what
you
he
know
said.
That's exactly right. We've all experienced it, okay? From our line of work, okay? So we know a little bit about what we're talking about. And what we're doing here is you have to understand poor oral health is a segue and an immediate lead-in for serious health complications. Pancreatic cancer, periodontal
heart
disease,
attacks,
heart attacks,
attacks,
pancreatic problems, and pancreatic cancers.
Heart disease, cardiac disease.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
all of the above. So for something that's 0.005% fatal, you are putting an entire population at risk for something completely more serious.
And let's not forget about the stuff that I talked about a couple of weeks ago. You've got the divorce rates up, domestic violence is up, alcoholism, drug addiction.
Oh.
These are all killer things that are happening because we've locked down states.
Again,
by the way,
for no good reason.
By the way, my kids went to school for 4 days, right?
Oh,
2
and then
weeks.
the lockdown again? Let me guess.
2 weeks. 2 weeks they went every other day, right? Tuesday, Thursday.
Yeah.
And then we got a message because some adult living facility had a high incident of COVID that drove numbers up that have nothing to do with the school system.
Well, let me give you a little anecdote here, and that's horrible. I was talking to where I live in the county I live in. We have a county police system. Most places have county sheriffs. We also have a county sheriff, but they play a much smaller role here. The municipal police is a county-wide system here. So the county is a very large county, very highly populated. It's divided into 6 precincts. All right. So I was talking to a county police officer who happened to be sitting somewhere eating lunch. And I looked at this guy, and he was sitting outside. It happened to be a nice day here for December. He's sitting outside eating something from somewhere where near I work. And I'm looking at this guy. I'm just standing there. He looked at me. I looked at him. And he had this look in his face. And I walked over to him. I'm like, "Hey, Sarge, you okay?" And he looked at me and says, "No, I'm not okay." I'm like, "What's wrong?" He said, This is screwed up. He said, domestic violence rate everywhere in this county is through the roof. The county executives have pulled our funding. They're defunding us. I've got my 25 in. I'm putting my frickin' papers in a couple of weeks. I've had enough of this crap. You're on your own. And I'll go back and I'm sitting there, and this guy, I don't know this guy from Adam, and he's spilling his guts to me. He's telling me how bad everything is, and he's a county police officer. This guy's been on the job for 25 years. And I'll go back and I'll say it one more time. You can learn a lot about people by looking in their recycling bins on Monday morning. I walk through my neighborhood. I walk the dog before I go to work on Monday mornings, and I look in the recycling bins, not because I'm a nosy ness, because they're sitting right there. Liquor bottles, beer bottles, wine bottles. I think we've gone from bottles to boxes on wine because it's cheaper and more plentiful. No accounting for taste there, whatever blows your skirt up, right? But people are sitting around. The cars in this neighborhood, except for mine, aren't going anywhere. There are 40,000 evictions being served in my county right now as we speak. And all I can smell is marijuana when I walk through my neighborhood. And this is an upper middle class neighborhood of working people.
Yep.
What is going on?
So if there's going to be a miracle, and we need one right now, that's what we need. We have to have some kind of divine intervention to stop this madness, because we have people in charge who are making piss poor decisions that are not based on science. And I don't want to hear anyone talk about follow the science, because they're not following it. They're making a mess of everything. So
That's right.
either we're going to have to start getting out there and start hitting the pavement and saying no more, or we're going to have to just, civil disobedience. I'm not wearing a mask anymore. I don't care. I'm not going to do it. and unless I'm, doing my job where I have to. But that's one thing. But
Well,
I'm not wearing one on the street. I'm not wearing one outside. Not doing it. Done.
No, and you know what? I think everybody feels the same way. Delta, I know you're sitting there patiently waiting, and you've got some opinions you want to throw down, and I'm just going to sit back and let it roll, brother.
That's right.
Let it rip. Let's hear.
There
what
you go.
have to say.
So this is what you want to talk about, right?
The
sir?
floor is yours, Delta.
So I'm looking at the clock and I'm seeing it's 54 minutes in, and I'm wondering if we want to really get into this now, or do I want to save this for next week?
Nah, we can go over a little bit. We haven't had you here.
I'm just so aggravated with all the liberal hypocrisy. Okay, I really am. So here's the deal. All right, I do watch Fox News. I do enjoy it. What I enjoy most about Fox News is two shows, Outnumbered and The Five. And the reason why I enjoy those shows is because there's competing narratives going on, and everybody has a little different flavor, and you got five people, sitting on a couch or sitting at a table or whatever they're doing. And this has been going on for a while. It's been going on probably a couple of years. They got these two liberals on there, Marie Harf and Jessica Tarloff. And I think I'm not going to say one's better than the other because they're both equally as terrible. But I will tell you that Marie literally stares in the camera. You can see her wiggling in her chair because the things that are coming out of her mouth, she knows is 100% false. And it's just a lot, right? So like it's it's whatever Democratic talking points there are, and I guess just to kind of like keep it short, I want to debate them because they don't make any points. For example, if you talk about the Hunter Biden story, right, which we didn't talk about today, which I'm sure we'll talk about next week, but let's say you decided to talk about the Hunter Biden story, and you said, well, Hunter Biden, he was dealing under the table with China and Burisma, Ukraine, Russia, all that other stuff, right? Marie would be like, yeah, no, it's terrible. It's pretty bad. But wait a minute. Don Jr. and Ivanka also have all these things. And she ties it back to Donald Trump every single time. She cannot make a point without bringing up Donald Trump. And it drives me nuts because if you can't stand on your laurels and make your point without dragging somebody into it for effect, then you're not good at your job. And so I want a shot. I don't think she listens to this podcast. Maybe she does. But I want a shot at one of these liberal guys because they don't have a freaking clue.
No, but they always talk about whataboutism, right? That's what you're talking about.
Yeah,
whataboutism.
I mean, we do it too. I'm not going to lie to you. We do it too. But the point is that the fact that you cannot make a statement without pulling Trump into it. Even let's say after the election, when we were supposed to be celebrating Joe Biden, or we being the liberals, supposed to be celebrating Joe Biden's victory and all this other stuff, neither one of the Jessica Tarloff, Marie Harf, I'm putting it out there right now on the record. I want a piece of the action. I'll give you a half hour. You can debate me. You can bring all your bullshit talking points. You can do all that stuff, and I will debate it 100%. Because you cannot, and when I say you, I mean Marie and Jessica, you cannot have a conversation without dragging in Donald Trump, because all the Democrats want to do is bring in Trump and talk about how bad he is, because that stirs up the Democratic base and gets them to come out and vote. And that's why I'm fired up today with all the garbage, and I'm just all done with it. I'm just all done. If you want to have a real conversation, let's have a real conversation.
Well, they won't have a real conversation with you because there's no substance to anything that they're saying, and you're exactly right. These people are not news people. They're not fact people. These are propagandists. Right?
Yeah. Yep. 100%.
There you go.
I mean, and again, I could go on. I don't want to waste anybody's time. I'm seriously, I'm over it. like I'm a regular guy. I'm an average Joe, you know, middle class. I got a house, I got a mortgage, I got kids, I got COVID, I got all this stuff, right? But take a shot at. You want to debate somebody? Throw away all the talking points. Talk to a regular person, and these people would like have a seizure. You ever see that movie, Real Steel, with Hugh Jackman? Do you remember that one? I don't know if you guys have seen it with the robots that were fighting. Anyway, it's a robot fighting movie. The bottom line is, at one point, one of the robots is fighting the other robot, and he freaks him out so much that they basically have a seizure and fall down. And that's exactly what would happen, because these people, Jessica and Marie, bring your A game, because all you're going to do is when you talk to a real human being, somebody that's not lived in a swamp and not sucked off the government, you know what I'm trying to say?
Teat.
Yeah. You know what I mean? If you really want to get down and dirty with it, you can't stand a candle to it. Go ahead, download your talking points and bring your talking points and deal with somebody in a real thing. Do a shot in a bar. Let's see what happens.
Well,
that's what I got to say
you
about that. That's where I'm at.
Well,
I hear you.
We're with you. We're with you. Hey, listen, everybody. You know, thanks a lot, Delta. I mean, I'm with you. I really appreciate that, and I can appreciate your sentiment on it. I think we all feel the same way. And you know what? This is about having the intestinal fortitude and the balls to put it out there. And you're exactly right. These people, they're all flash, no substance. They're propagandists. There's no substance to anything that they're saying, and they just peddle talking points. Hey, listen, everybody, we're at the 1 hour mark, and we're going to do a show probably Wednesday night. We'll do another live stream Wednesday night, and we hope to see you then. We're going to make sure to catch us on Rumble. Hit us up on Parler. Info@signal50.com is a great way to get a hold of us and send us an email and tell us what you think and give us some feedback and engagement. We'd really appreciate that. Hey, listen, everybody, it's going to be
especially
a very
busy... especially if you're on Rumble, catch us on Rumble. That's a big way to get all of us.
Yeah, catch us on Rumble.
Leave a comment there and subscribe to us.
Absolutely. Hit the subscribe button. It helps us out a little bit. Even on YouTube. If you do catch us on YouTube, like and subscribe the videos. It does help us out a little bit, I guess. We're not monetized. We don't care about any of that. The point being, this is going to be a very, very busy week. A lot of stuff going on we'll be able to talk about. I guess we're going to get our first real taste of winter this week on the East Coast here. So that ought to be interesting.
I do have some good news as we go out to the break.
What's that?
So you, for the folks in the audience, you guys are going to want to tune in. So I'm actually on a list to get the first round of the Pfizer vaccine this week. So I'm prepared to talk about what my experience is like after I get that.
God be with you.
Yeah, I'm doing it. Yeah, guinea pig me up, buddy, because I'm ready to go.
So I got news for you. I learned from Microsoft a long time ago, never take the first version of anything.
Whatever. It'll be fine. I'll get the reboot. It's all right.
All right. Well, we wish you all the luck in the world with that one, Delta.
We look forward to hearing how it goes for you and how much it hurts.
We will speak highly of you in your absence after your passing.
Well, that's a little overboard.
That's harsh.
Yeah. It's
a little much.
Right. Okay, whatever.
No, I want to know how much it hurts because I hate
probably gonna hurt
shots.
like hell.
It's like 94 degrees, like negative 94 degrees Fahrenheit. It's probably gonna hurt a lot.
Oh my God!
Excuse me.
Yeah, they got to keep it. They got to freeze it in dry ice to like negative 94 degrees Fahrenheit.
That's awesome. That'll be fun. Well, you let us know how that experience goes.
Welcome.
Tell me you want it in your gluteus maximus. That'd be probably the best way to go.
Some of us don't have a choice. I think I said that a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, I'm there with you.
Noted. Leave it alone. So anyhow, let's wrap it up here, everybody. Let's don't forget to catch us on Parler, YouTube, Rumble. Make sure if you're listening to us, you definitely know how to get a hold of our podcast. But if you're on Rumble and you're catching us for the first time, Apple Music, you can catch our podcast there. Google Podcast, Podbean. We're out there. Please download us. Take us with you wherever you go on one of those portable apps for listening to your podcasts. And on that note, I'm gonna walk us out of here with our as always. Thank our soldiers, sailors, and airmen for protecting us 24/7, 365. We really appreciate your service. And remember those that are deployed. This is a tough time of year for our guys and gals that are in uniform overseas away from their families. It's going to be a tough year for everybody, but especially tougher if you're overseas. So if you have an opportunity, you see a boot drive for the fire department, drop a couple bucks in the boot. They do some really good stuff with a right direct action to the community. There's no bureaucracy there. That really goes to help the community. You got your firefighters and your first responders that'll be working no matter what, rain, sleet, snow, shine, holidays, doesn't make any difference. You call them, they come. That's their deal. And keep a thought out for our cops. We're really going to need them here coming really soon. On that note, everybody have a great week. Be safe. Keep your eye on the weather reports. Could get really weird on the East Coast, which I kind of am a big fan of weather chaos. It's kind of fun. So,
and then that's a great time to do more podcasts and get them out there. So, hey, you can find something to do.
Not that anybody has school or anything anymore. That doesn't matter. All right, everybody. Thanks a lot for joining us on the Signal 50 podcast, and we'll catch you really soon.
Have a great week.
Bye.